We got the Maxpeedingrods cards right here, service card, and the social media card right here, contact information. This is cool. We got some perch wrenches. I didn't see this in the other box, so that's nice to have. So I got one of the shocks out, and first thing I noticed is that the sticker is upside down, as well as the spring. Now that's not going to affect the way this thing is going to work, but I'm just saying this definitely has some weight to it. The spring seems to be like less of a gap opposed to like softer spring rate. I don't know what the spring rate is for these. I don't know what these numbers even mean. Top hat, I mean, it looks good. Anodized aluminum. It's got, oh, it's got dampening on it too. Did not expect that. I don't know about you guys, but that logo looks off-centered, and I'm not crazy OCD, but that is totally noticeable. I'm excited to get this installed into the car to really give it an honest review. And I do notice that this bottom section right here seems to be for a CRX or a DA, because the CRX and DA has a smaller diameter fork, and the listing for this was for the EK, the EG, and the DC. So this seems to fit the EF fork, and that's the same one that I have in that car. That's good. I don't have to go look for the EG DC forks. And yeah, I'm just about ready to get this installed. I think the first thing I'm going to do with all of the shocks is to make sure all of the hardware are tight, and then we'll jack up the car. So I got everything out the box, and I noticed that they gave these little sleeves right here. So if you're trying to buy the suspension for your EG or DC or EK, I mean, I guess this is universal. Never even thought about a piece like this making it compatible between the years, but it slides over this, and then you use the newer year fork, and then you can slap it into your car. EK might need a little mod because the LCA is a little different in the rear, but it will work for an EK as well. This nut on top is loose, and I mean everything else is loose too. Like this body is loose, this one is loose, stuff like that. So obviously, like I said before, I toss it in my car, I'm gonna double check everything, and let me show you guys real quick. Loose, like really loose. So if you decide that you're gonna get this, double check everything. Now it's tight. Tight. That one's tight. This one's pretty loose. So it seems that the two front one are loose. I do suggest that these nuts are nylon threaded, so it's not easy for it to back out if it did back out. I do notice that the nut bottom side has this little like teeth on it, and that could definitely leave an imprint on the chassis where the top hat bolts to, or to the washer and stuff like that. It could back out. I'm not saying it will, but it could. So if you guys are rocking this, I may suggest you to switch it out to a nylon threaded nut, but we don't have it, so we're gonna rock it. Now what I'm gonna check is the height of the spring. I'm gonna measure it from the top hat to the top of the first collar, and this is the rear shock. So this one to the collar is at 7 inches. You can see it right there, and the other rear we're looking at about 7 1/8. So I am going to, because these are softer spring, I'm going to preload it a little bit more. Granted, this thing has dampening, so I think 7 1/8. This one I'm going to preload a little bit more. The front we're looking at about 7 1/16, and we're just about the same over here. So I'm gonna leave the fronts alone. I'm gonna adjust this one real quick. Another thing, it's cool that they include the tool here for the purchase, right? But they're two of the same tool. Now the purchase, there are one big and one small, and normally the smaller ones are for the lower collar because of how small they are, right? It fits the diameter, but the bigger one, it doesn't even fit the curvature. And I tried spinning it just now, and I freaking slipped, and these guys they freaking hurt. So again, it's nice to have the tools, but hopefully in the future they could provide one small and one large perch tools, which will make it a lot easier to turn these perches. Now I'm not going to measure the bottom until I take off the ones currently from the car, so we can kind of get it closer to the same height. I'm not worried about it being higher or lower, but I want it to be somewhat close because I kind of like the way the car height is currently at. Once we get our height, we'll lock these bottom perches or collars. What do you guys call these, perches or collars? Let me know in the comments. So perches are all tight. Now to reverse the process, I am going to use the stock hardware washer and 14 nuts. I don't want to use the other one because I don't want to just twist my paint with all those teeth underneath the nut. Last thing right here is the brake line. If you look, it's hitting the frame, but the cool thing is it is removable. So right here is an 8mm nut. Loosen it up, adjust it accordingly somewhere. I don't know, somewhere here. Or actually, you know what? I can move this. Now I can put a bolt there. This thing is threaded for a Honda 12mm. Brake line secured. This side is done. Now let's do the other side. All right, so we got the passenger side installed. And I think what I'm going to do as far as dampening goes, I am going to put it in the middle. So I don't know which way. So tight would be righty and loosey would be soft. I don't know. The box didn't come with any instructions. So I'm going to assume left is soft and right is hard. So I'm going to count from left to right how many clicks. And then I'm going to divide it by 2 to put it in the middle. So we got 1, 2, 3, 23, 24, 24. So we're going to go 12 clicks back. God damn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 11, 12, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, front's done, wheels back on, bang. Now let's get the car back on the ground. So we got the car back on the ground, and the ride height is a little bit higher than what it was before. Not a big deal. That means when you got more ground clearance, and hopefully the ride height is a little more comfortable. Every suspension needs to have mileage to break it in properly. I do notice that when I hit a bump, it's not a hard like bottom out. It actually absorbs it a little bit.